One of the things that I want to point out initially is that the Great Plains Trails Network, who we work with really close on our projects, has just completed a new trails map. I have brought some of those maps, and they're on the table in the back. And if you go through here, it actually shows all the trails that we have in the city of Lincoln. And then when you turn it over to the other side, it also shows the trails that are in Wilderness Park, as well as some of the other trails that go out into the county and other locations. So it's a great resource for you to have. This map can also be found on the GPTN website, which is gptn.org. One of the new things that they did with the map was they actually colored and assigned a color to each one of the major trails in town. And we are in the process of putting together a new signage project that we will coordinate the colors of the signs with the colors on the map, so that when you're going out on the trails, you'll know which trail you're on. We know that we have a few locations throughout the trails that it's pretty easy to get lost, because I do it myself. And so we're going to put some directional arrows, as well as some of the, like the new Billy Wolff Trail, which formerly the Antelope Valley Trail downtown. We're now calling the Billy Wolff Trail all the way from Devaney out to 91st and Highway 2. You go underneath the bridges, you don't know where you're at. We're going to be trying to identify which street you're going underneath and give you a little bit better bearing. So that's one of the projects that is moving forward. The signs just came in this week, so it'll take a while to get them out. Probably later on this fall, we'll start working on that project. So what we have up on the screen right now are actually the trails that are in the city of Lincoln. You can see on the map, the green ones are the trails that have been completed. The yellow are the on-street routes, and then the red are the future trails that will be developed. We've been really successful with completing a lot of the trails that we have within the city in the current development, and we're working forward on getting that, or working in the future on getting the red trails completed. This was in the new comp plan, the L Plan 2040, and it identifies kind of the plans that we felt, the trails that we could complete within the next 20 or 30 years, and then on out after that. I think we have maybe 85 new trails, 85 miles of new trails identified on this map to actually complete the trails that, the trails network. Whether we get all those done in the next 30 years, I would say we're probably about half that based on the funds that are available. And what I thought I'd go over are some of the recently completed projects, so you're aware of what's been done, some of the current projects going on, and then some of the future projects. Some of the recently completed projects, again, the Antelope Valley Trail was recently done. We made a connection to the Antelope Valley Trail. We'll talk about that. We did a little bit of restoration on the Billy Wolff Trail from 56 to 58. What we're finding out with our trails, if you've been on the Rock Island or the Mopac, they're only 8 feet wide in the majority of the places. That's really too narrow for the usage that they're getting and for safety reasons. So we're trying to, as we rebuild those trails and replace them, we're going to make them 10 or 12 feet wide. The Jayne Snyder Trail Center was recently completed. That's located at 21st and N Street. Great location. It's already been used several times for trail-related projects. The comp plan we talked about, and then David Carey is going to talk a little bit about the pedestrian and bicycle strategic capital plan that's been completed. When the Antelope Valley Trails were under construction, the project Antelope Valley Trails really stopped right around J Street. So if you recall, they rebuilt the J Street Bridge, and when they did that, we had them design it so we could get the trail underneath. We brought it up to about Randolph, and we actually, the trail as it goes along Capitol Parkway is on the south side, west side of the channel. We built a new bridge just east of Randolph to get you over to the east side of the channel so you have a smooth connection on the whole trails network. Once you get to Randolph and cross it, you do not have to cross any more streets until you get all the way down to Devaney. This is the J Street underpass going, this is actually north of the Randolph intersection. Okay. New improvement, the Billy Wolff, 56 to 58th Street. When this trail was built, there was this mindset that you could just add a 4-foot sidewalk next to an existing 4-foot sidewalk and make it work. Well, it works for a while until the grass starts to grow and then it starts to separate and then you have problems. And so we replaced that section of trail. We do know that we have a couple other places in the trails network like that that will eventually get those replaced as well. The Jayne Snyder Trail Center, named after the former city councilman Jayne Snyder. Great facility. The Great Plains Trails Network donated huge sums of money to build the public space for that complex. There's also a real retail component of it, and then the community health endowment is up on second floor. It will seat somewhere around 80, 90, 100 people. It depends on the layout of that facility. But that's in the heart of Union Plaza, as well as where many of our trails come together. And you can actually start a trail ride at that location and ride any one of the 4 quadrants around town and really not have to repeat riding any of the other trails. So it's a great facility. Here, a year ago, we partnered with the Lower Platte South NRD on the Billy Wolff Trail by the zoo. The trail, we were having problems with it. The NRD was looking for some additional ways for some additional flood storage during high rains. And so we had kind of suggested, well, if you want to do that, let's lower the trail, put it down in the channel like that. It provides some pretty good separation between the trail users and the children's zoo. We had some ADA issues. As you remember, going down A Street underneath the bridge, it was pretty steep, especially in the wintertime. This has alleviated those problems. We now have an ADA ramp at A Street as well as at 27th Street. Some of the current projects we have going on, the Jamaica North Trail from A to Calvert. We had completed the Jamaica North Trail several years ago, and the Jamaica North Trail connects with the Homestead, which now goes all the way down to Beatrice. We're trying to make this final connection from A to Calvert, and we're kind of dealing with the railroad right now on trying to get across Park Boulevard, but once we get the agreement in place, we'll make that final connection. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the slide. Cavett Connector is another one we're working on. Down by Cavett Elementary School, the Tierra Williamsburg Trail stops at San Mateo Drive. We're going to connect from San Mateo down to Yankee Hill. There's an underpass there that as development continues on south, the trail will continue in that direction. The Bison Trail Bridge, which was closed a couple years ago for safety reasons, we're going to replace that. We have a multi-use path that's being constructed on 1st Street, and then one on 14th, and then we talked a little bit about the trail signage. So the Jamaica North Trail, this is the one that actually will connect with the Arena Trail that will be constructed when they do the new road along the west side of the Haymarket. And the Arena Trail will get you down to about N Street. We're going to make another connection from N to J. And once we get this piece done from Calvert up to A Street, you can start at the Arena and ride all the way down to Beatrice. It's just going to be a great trail to ride on. This one again shows the Cavett Connector Trail, which goes over on the left side. It's not a large connection, but it is a valuable connection. That there's a trail along Yankee Hill right now from 27th to 40th. We'll make that connection, and again, it will continue on south. And if you take a look at the map, the green line on there gets you all the way down to the South Beltway eventually. Bison Bridge was closed a couple years ago for safety concerns, and it wasn't so much of a person being on it with their bike. It was more of a concern that when somebody was on it, the bridge would collapse. We actually have funding lined up, again, with a lot of donations from the community and from the Great Plains Trails Network. We're just waiting on the environmental document for approval, and once that's done, we're going to go out to bid to remove that bridge and then put a new 10-foot wide pedestrian bridge over that creek channel. Public Works is improving 1st Street from just north of Cornhusker up to Superior, and as they do that, they're adding a multi-use path along that street, which is great. We'd been looking for a way to make a connection between Superior Street and Cornhusker for many years. That will now be completed yet this fall. The next project you probably heard about is the roundabout at 14th and Superior. And as they improve that intersection, they are doing some underpasses that you will not have to cross Superior Street on the bike trail, or well, the Superior Street Trail, you will not have to cross that grade, nor will you have to cross to use the 14th Street Trail. But the 14th Street Trail will get you all the way up to Humphrey, which is just short of Alvo Road, and you can see up on that map we've actually got a green line going through the neighborhood where we'll make a final connection up to Alvo Road. Kind of the interesting thing about that is that once that trail's done, the piece along 14th will be done this fall. Stonebridge, which we're calling that little section going through the residential area, will take a couple, 3 years because that's federally funded, but once that's done, you'll be able to make a connection all the way over to Fallbrook. There's a trail that currently is along Alvo Road that connects the Couser Elementary with, what's the other school up there? Couser Elementary is up at 14th to SCO Middle School. There you go. Okay, next one. And that's the new roundabout, which is soon to be open, I think, yet within the next couple months. I think that whole project will be done. The trail signage we've talked a little bit about. You will not miss these signs once they're up on the trail, let me tell you. The signs, these say they're maybe 11 by 14. The signs are actually going to be 18 by 24. So you will definitely see them. Some of the future trail projects that we're moving forward with, Stonebridge, we just talked about that. That's up at Alvo Road. Pioneers Park Trails, if you've ever been in Pioneers Park and ridden their trails, it is horrible. I mean, you will ride on the streets before you ride on those trails. So we've got some funding to start doing that. We're replacing the bike bridge in Wilderness Park, which is between Pioneers and Old Cheney. We've got some area lights, some solar-powered lights that we're going to be placing around that new bridge we put in at Randolph. In streets, the protected bikeway, I think David's going to talk about that. Public Works will be rebuilding Old Cheney from 70th to 84th. We need to get a trail along that piece. And then Public Works is also doing some street improvements on 56 south of Highway 2 in Old Cheney. And they're going to be building a trail along a portion of that will make a final connection someday down to Yankee Hill. This shows that Stonebridge Trail going through the neighborhood up around 14th and Alvo Road. And again, making a connection with the SCO Elementary. It's not SCO. Couser Elementary. Okay. Picture of the Pioneers Park Trail that we're renovating. The piece that we're going to do, it's actually done, when we did the Bison Trail, they made a connection up to the circle. We're going to begin from the circle and go to the sled run, and Pinewood Bowl is the phase 1. We'll have to do 2 more phases to complete it to the west end of the park. And this one was kind of critical because we have a lot of weddings at the Columns and folks park at the parking lot up by the sled ramp. And it's very difficult to get folks down to the Columns just because of some of the ADA issues with that portion of the trail. This is the bridge as it stands now. That will be removed and a new one will be replaced there once we get funding lined up. We're working on that right now. Some of the downtown projects, resurfacing, which a lot of that's done now. There's still some more work to do, but this is going to greatly improve the downtown area as well as that end street, 11th and 14th, that's been talked about for cycle tracks or protected bikeways. Old Cheney, you can get on Old Cheney at about 14th and ride all the way out to 70th. This was the last piece of that connection that we needed to get you all the way out to 84th. And so in 84th, when Old Cheney is improved, there will be a trail along that section of the street. Next year is that project. And this is the 56th Street that they're doing. We will go through, if you know where London Road is, it's south of the Trade Center down there. They're going to go underneath. There's a bridge that goes over Beale Slough. We'll go underneath that bridge, and that trail will eventually get you down to Yankee Hill. And again, that trail will get you down to the South Beltway someday. Again, that's what the map looks like. We'll continue to try to build these little pieces out as we move forward and get funding identified. This is really, we have about a 15-year plan, 20-year plan laid out for these trails. We're hoping that the funding remains in place. If you heard in the paper or read in the paper or heard in the news media that the enhancement funds there are some issues about that, and I think those details are going to be, we'll know a little bit more this week, unfortunately. Before there was a dedicated funding for trail projects. Now it sounds like those funds are going to be turned over to the Department of Roads. They will determine how much of those funds will be used for trail projects, and so we'll just have to work through, you know, the Department of Roads when they find out how much money they have available and how much they're going to allocate for trail projects. I think that's all I have for my presentation. Do you have any questions on the trails in town, or if you've been out riding, if you have concerns or issues about them? Yes?
I know that they were going to, I read in the paper that they were going to widen the trail that's along Highway 2 so that they can have more people for the Lincoln Marathon. Is that a project that's going to happen?
I don't think that's going to move forward. I think instead what they're talking about now is possibly closing down part of Highway 2 to take care of the increased number of people in that event.
So they'll just reroute it somewhere else?
No, I think they'll still maintain that route, but it might be that they'll be up on the highway for a portion of it if they close a lane down, but I don't think those details have been worked out yet. But for sure, that portion of the trail will not be rebuilt. Anything else? Thanks.